Welcome back to Avry Sports Show, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who know me, you know I have a big passion for the NBA in the 80s and the 90s. So I've been fired up watching The Last Dance, and it is my pleasure to have someone who played in that era, in the thick of the Pistons and Bulls rivalry, and is in this series. My guest plays college basketball at Georgia Tech. He was the first player in NBA history to win a championship with 3 different franchises. At his IMDb page, it's pretty impressive. He appeared in Bad Boys 1 and 2, and he was a long-time host on the Best Damn Sports Show, period. Ladies and gentlemen, it is John Salley. John, how you doing today, sir?
Man, what an intro. How are you?
I'm doing well. And sir, it's an honor having you on Avry Sports Show. But I gotta ask you, first things first, how many interviews have you done to discuss The Last Dance in maybe the past week or two?
This is crazy because, I'm in the media, so I worked so many years doing it. I knew what was going to happen. So I knew it was coming to this. So I picked the fact that I'm doing your show is you got in at the right time. I loved what your email said, and I said yes. But the deal was I literally handpick all the shows I'm going to pick on, so I don't overdo myself. I do about 3 a day, and but I was doing so many interviews anyway. But about 3 a day I was getting done.
Oh, wow. You put in work there. You put up in work. So I want to ask you with The Last Dance.
Yeah. 45 minutes of work a day is a lot.
Right?
That is a lot to ask.
That is a lot of work. That is a lot of work. So I want to ask you, you said you knew this was coming. So I want to ask you, when you were first approached to be in The Last Dance, was it like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be a part of this immediately?
That was I did that interview last April.
Okay.
And when I tell you you signed everything to be, to be quiet. They were like, hey, this is important. We really don't want to talk about, this, so we're going to need you to do this interview and forget you've done this interview. And they were slick about it. But, because I was in there, I said, you got to tell me what we're interviewing about. And he said, just about, Dennis Rodman, we want to do this piece on Dennis, and you know him best. And I said, okay. He said, we might ask you some micro questions. But I was in there for 2 hours. I was in there for 2 hours. They when I tell you they took their time putting this together, because if he's going to be the greatest player of all time, he has to have the greatest documentary.
Of course.
It just has to go like that. And I think they are showing the making of the Messiah.
Wow, you know what? I couldn't agree more. But I want to ask you though, John, was it kind of surprising that it took 23 years to make it? Because I'm sure some would have asked why didn't Michael sign off on this in 2014 or 2015? Why did he wait over 20 years to authorize the ability to have this footage be released?
The crazy part is I don't even know if they're going to show the Kobe side, but they've been working on it for a year to drop it on 2020. So every decade you would want to drop something, and compiling all the things he's done to where it is now is an important thing to show where this is going. So it was ESPN who waited. They could have gotten it done. Michael was giving interviews, but he's more lax too. Remember, a lot of people, they're not talking about how negative the media was when his father passed. They're not talking about when he went to play baseball. They thought he was being too uppity and too out of his way to want to walk away from basketball. After you got me buying, people were mad at him for living his life. They forget that he had to go through all that. They forget that while he was doing all this greatness, they were like, hey, you know what? You played 14 years. It's time for you to retire. I mean, people are not realizing that's literally what they were saying to MJ. It's in 1998. This is it. You know what I'm saying? So just to understand that that's how they were going at it, it was a bad thing. It's like people, they use you up. They forget the feeling we have from those organizations.
Exactly. I agree with that. And looking at the documentary, looking at how many personalities and how many people are involved in all 10 parts, there are people like myself. I'm 27, but I know my history of the world of basketball. A lot of my friends don't know the history of the Bulls and the Pistons, and they don't know what you guys went through. So what does it mean to be really an educator and teach a new generation about, hey, this is how the NBA was, this is how Larry Bird was, this is how Isaiah was, this is how Michael was when he's trying to get through you in Detroit and trying to get through the Celtics and Knicks and so on and so forth?
I tell people all the time, we were essential to Michael Jordan's growth. He said it himself. Beating the Pistons was more gratifying than winning the championship against the Lakers, because that wasn't any competition for them. The competition was the guys who kept standing in their way to win the Eastern Conference Championship. That was the ultimate goal.
It truly was, and seeing how you guys were that true roadblock. I look at Detroit, and I grew up having admiration for you, for Bill Laimbeer, I was a Bulls kid growing up, John, but I admired what you guys did in Detroit, and it's kind of cool people are seeing that, because I honestly feel that you guys were overlooked, because you had that period in which people discuss. You said it yourself in the Bad Boys documentary a few years ago, where people give the praise to the Lakers, they give the praise to Boston, and then they jump right into Chicago. People don't give enough praise to what you guys did in Detroit in that period in the 80s and 90s, where you guys did go down, and you did take down Larry, and you did go and take down Magic and Kareem and the Lakers in their home building.
People don't realize, brother. They see it. Because this is another thing. Somebody asked me, how did it feel when I put a Bulls jersey on, or when I put on a Lakers jersey? I said, my man, when I used to pray to God to be an NBA ball player, that's just what I became, not any particular team. I just wanted to play in the NBA. And the mentality is, that's our job. That's our concern. You can go to work and say, hey, it's going to be a good game tonight. Yeah, I'm going to go get some food first. You want to come up? You can go and have your leisurely life to watch a game. It may be intense, but you're not literally doing it. The person doing it in the middle of it is literally can't even see anything you could see from it. So it's a whole different feeling. And then I remember, guys, when I was playing for Miami, we would lose a game, and we'd go out, and guys would be like, no one would come up and say, tough loss. They'd be like, what, you guys hanging out? Didn't you lose tonight? And I wanted to be like, what's that mean? Yeah, we competed tonight because we were paid to compete. And you want to win, but you're paid to put on a show. And once you put on the show, I want to eat too. I want to go to the nightclub too. But people don't look at it that way. They look at it like we're just gladiators. Like, you perform and get back in your cage. That's it. And that's a poor way of looking at it.
Exactly. It's a really good point. And I know you think of the fact that the gladiator thing, just for a quick second, John, I was looking in a great example last year in football. Andrew Luck, quarterback for the Colts, he retires. People are saying, what are you retiring for? People don't realize that he's a person too. He wants to walk away from football 28. That's his life.
Yeah, they don't want you to be human. They want you to be an entertainer for them. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know it is nuts. And looking at what you guys are doing in Detroit, and just watching all the old footage and watching how this team, you guys were a true unit and a true team, man. I'm watching, and was there any better coach for you guys than Chuck Daley? Because looking at what Chuck Daley did, and he molded so many personalities, so many styles of ball. A lot of coaches probably wouldn't be able to handle so many guys, but he was able to mold himself into the perfect teacher and perfect coach to get you guys to the finals 3 times and win 2 championships back in the day.
Not only was that, he was Dream Team 1 coach. Out of all the coaches they could have picked, they didn't pick Pat Riley. They didn't go after Phil Jackson. Chuck Daley was the coach of Dream Team 1.
Yes,
that should tell you how important he was.
And he truly was. And I'm watching him now. Of course, John, you're the guy who kept things light, so I want to ask you about the fact that you guys gave Chuck Daley the nickname Daddy Rich for his suits. So how much do you think a Chuck Daley suit cost? Was it $5,000? Was it $3,000? Because he was rocking some pretty stylish suits.
Well, things weren't as expensive, but if you would have put the suits Chuck Daley was having tapered on his body, from the umbrella, if you were to put that on now, you would have on a $5,000 to $6,000 suit. He didn't pay that.
No,
that was his thing. So many suit makers and guys wanted to have him in the suit So they would outfit him because they wanted him to look good and they wanted them to look good in their suits. I wound up getting a deal on suits from he got it with one company and I got it with another. So we would, I call him Daddy Rich because that's what he was like. It was like we were Richie Rich and that was Daddy Rich.
I love that. Oh, man, I love that. I love that, John. I mentioned rivalry between you guys and the Bulls and the Pistons. Of course, the infamous thing was that when Michael and those guys got past you, of course, the big thing was the majority of your teammates not going to the Bulls and not shaking their hands. Of course, you were one of the outliers. You subbed yourself in to not be a part of that, to shake your hands. And Isaiah mentions a bit of regret not shaking hands. But on ESPN this past week, Bill Laimbeer was on the jump with Rachel Nichols, saying he has no regrets. Are you kind of surprised that one, Isaiah said he regrets it, and are you kind of surprised that Bill's standing by the fact that, I don't regret not shaking their hands after 91?
Well, it was a bunch of us that didn't. What you're seeing is Bill Laimbeer walk by, and at the deal you would see Isaiah duck around, and then Dennis ran off. But the rest of us are still shook their hand. Vinnie Johnson, Joe Dumars, me, Scott Hastings, the guys that was on the court.
Oh, okay.
What the deal is it comes down to it. It's Isaiah felt he should have shaken. That's what everybody was looking at. They were looking at the leader of the squad.
Right.
And so I knew, it's just basketball is what I do. It's not who I am. And reputation is what you stand for. Character is what you reputation is what you will fall for, but your character you stand for. And my character, I'm going to walk up to my fraternity brother, Omega Psi Phi Incorporated, Michael Jordan and I, Shaquille, Steve Harvey, a list of Cornbread Maxwell, all of us Omegas, we're going to dap each other up. We're going to walk over and congratulate my brother. And I've been friends with Michael Jordan since '82. And then Scotty and Horace, I would trade tickets with them. So that was, it was, I don't look at it the way, no one else looked at it that way. It was just the way Bill was feeling at the time. And that was Bill's choice. That was their choice to make some sort of statement. And he was like, well, we're going to hand it to him like the Celtics did to us. And my thing is, well, we're not the Celtics. But,
right.
Hey, it was 29 years ago. The fact that we learned that we're still on Michael Jordan's mind, that's even more satisfying.
Looking at this team and looking at different personality, of course, I have to ask you about Dennis Rodman. And what is the kind of misconception people have about Dennis Rodman where you're like, that isn't true about Dennis. Dennis is not like that. Because people might see Dennis one way, and you probably saw Dennis a different way on the court and off the court.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to feel like on the court it was going to be one way with somebody, but right after that, we're going to go back to being buddies. There's everybody else like people wearing colors and putting on their favorite team outfits and getting into riots and fights, stupidness like that. We don't know any of that stuff. We're just out here playing.
Of course.
And plus, I don't look at it that way.
I know the bad boys. I know back in the day, you guys were one of the first teams in probably pro sports to do any kind of cross-branding with other franchises. I know you see now, in modern-day sports, you see other teams cross-brand with teams from the NFL, NHL, but you guys were the first team to cross-brand with the Oakland Raiders and lean into the whole bad boys thing with the Raiders. How cool is that to be one of the first pro sports teams? I'm sure the Raiders ended up wearing Pistons stuff back in the Bay.
Yeah. Well, Mike Ornstein, who we still talk to in a group chat, was working for the Raiders, and he loved us in Detroit, and he wound up getting us a whole bunch of Raider stuff. So we were going to be, Bill Laimbeer said again, we're going to be bad. We're going to be the baddest of the bad. And, it's like we're the Raiders of the NBA. People don't like us, but they respect us. Mm-hmm. And they have to. So we thank Mike Ornstein for looking out for us and hooking us up. But you put on a moniker, right? Mm-hmm. Give you an example. You talk about the '85 Bears.
Yes.
Right? They did video, and they did the Chicago Bears Shuffle, and they did their rhyme. You know what I'm saying? It's like that was their time. And so in 1989 we had the Bad Boys. That was our time. 88, 89, 90. That was our time. So it's like I love to see what's happening with these new ways. I'm seeing what happened with Golden State. That was a great run. That was a great run for Golden State. We know it's over, right? I'm not being mean, But we know now another team is going to have, like Miami had a great run.
Yes.
Like San Antonio had a great run. Chicago had a great run. Boston, Los Angeles. It's now going to be something different. And, it's going to, it just moves like that. That's the way the trophy moves. That's what makes the NBA so wonderful, that there are no garbage teams.
No, that is very true. And you mentioned Golden State ending. I want to talk to you about the team that ended that run, the Raptors, the team you played for back 95-96. I want to ask you, as someone who played for the Raptors in year one, what was it like going to a market in which you're a part of a team that's in a totally different country, totally different environment? What was it like for you going from playing in Detroit and Miami to now you're playing pro ball, but you're now playing Canada in the mid-90s?
No, well, I'll tell you this. Well, we were when I played for Detroit, we would go up to Hamilton, right outside Toronto, and we would do an exhibition game. The NBA, the Pistons would play against all these different teams, and it was bringing basketball into Canada. That's how far back, 1986, is when we would do that. And so I was also a part of, just 9 years after that, they are literally showing people different rules about basketball. And it was cold. I love the city of Toronto. I love the whole country of Canada. It was like one of my favorite parts of my life, especially during exhibition. They took us through Canada from Nova Scotia all the way to Vancouver, and I was like, yo, this place is dope. And since then, I've done a movie in Winnipeg and in Vancouver and Toronto, and right over the border from Detroit. You go into Windsor. This has always been like a cool spot to me. So it wasn't weird. It was just cold. It was really loving, though. I talk about how great my house was. I lived in Forest Hills, and I know most people in Toronto are going to like, oh, you lived over. And I took my daughter sledding, and we were going running up the hill and then slide down. And nobody was bothering me, and everybody was having fun. And I was like, this is the dopest place in the world. So I really enjoyed it. Just the basketball got in the way because it was a brand new team. And as they say, the pioneers get the arrows.
Yeah, that is true. And yeah, Toronto, it's developed into a tremendous market. And before I let you go, John, I want to ask you about the fact that you were one of the first athletes to promote being a vegan. I wanted to ask you, when did you really get into that? And would that really been possible to be open about, I'm going to cut meat out of my diet back in the 80s?
It was 1991, and I knew I needed to change the way I did things because I, sitting around, have high cholesterol, pre-diabetic, literally having joint pains, eye weakness. My hair was losing my hair, and all these things were from not eating properly. And so when I found out about cleaning my colon with a colonic, and I started microbiotic, and then I went to vegetarian, and then I became a vegan, and now like my daughter and I are doing raw until my birthday, which is May 16th, and with some cooked greens in the evening. But it's literally when you learn how food is the medicine and medicine is the food, you don't really get sick. You have a strong immune system. You literally feel better. I know it was days I was waking up when I was like, oh, what is it, Monday? Oh, what is it? What is it, Thursday? What is it, hump day? Like all of those bad images on how bad it is to wake up that day must mean you're eating improperly. So when I realized I should be happy, I'm living the life I designed. That the only thing I didn't know was I wasn't giving my Ferrari the right kind of gas. So I changed my mentality about what I ate, and that's it, and what I put in my body. This is a high-octane, beautiful Ferrari, but made in America, and it should be, and the only high-octane gas is fruit, seeds, nuts, legumes, and vegetables. And that's all I put into it.
Nice, that's awesome. And John, I gotta thank you for doing Avry Sports Show. We gotta do it again someday. Maybe down in Los Angeles, sitting down with you in LA over a nice vegan meal.
Well, I don't want to tell you, my cannabis line, along with my daughter, Tyler, Deuce is 22, we were supposed to launch in Nevada April 9th. But, But don't worry, you'll hear more from me. And then we can talk about cannabis being good for your body, too. It's all green, baby.
That's true. That is very true. That's so true, John. Thank you for doing the podcast, brother. Appreciate you coming on the show today.